And I know I'm just an LP, but to see the before and to see what the management company is doing, sometimes, even if I like control, but I also like, okay, what can I learn from them?
If you're not conscious about your investment strategy, you won't end up where you want to be, not financially or as a human. On this show, we interview highly successful investors and share how they overcame limitations to become unstoppable forces of success. If you're ready to learn what it is to be a conscious investor so you can end up where you want, keep listening.
Welcome back, Conscious Investor. You know, you love learning about investing passively. You love your job. I know this about you, Conscious Investor. And I know that you want to find alternative investments, right? You want to diversify your portfolio. We both know, we've had the conversation, Conscious Investor, that you're looking for other ways to catch up on some of those lost years where things weren't so great with your 401k and such. Well, sometimes when we are going this path, we were like, we really wish our spouse or partner was in sync with us and understood the path that we're on. Because typically we have one person in the couple that discovers syndication and this as an alternative asset investment strategy, right? And they're like, oh my gosh. And they're trying to explain it to their partner and trying to get them equally excited. And there's always this interesting dynamic. Well, we shouldn't say always, but it often happens. I've noticed this. Steve and I are no different. And our guests today have walked this path before us already. What's even better, one of the things, like, I can't even explain to you how excited I am about this, but Alex and Helen are good friends of mine who are coming on the show, right? But here's where they're even doing you even a greater solid. Because Conscious Investor, you love spending time with your family. You love the job that you are at. Your career is solid and strong. And you know you're doing great things there. But sometimes that means that, like, great, my office is here. And, you know, maybe I feel like my office wants, you know, a little TLC to it or something. But we're showing up to life. We're showing up for our families. We're showing up for our clients. And we're showing up in powerful ways. So I just have to give a high five, because if you're watching over on YouTube, you get to see, you know what, Alex and Helen, they're like being fully transparent. Like, you can see their whole entire life. And I think that that's like something that most people aren't doing. Most of the time, people are hiding behind green screens. Like, most of the time we're hiding and we're blurring our background and such. So anyhow, I just think that that's like absolutely endearing, and I already love them as friends and as investors. But now I'm like super excited that, and I know that you too, Conscious Investor, are going to feel a strong affection for them as well. So Alex, Helen, thank you so much. Welcome to the Conscious Investor.
Glad to be here.
Thank you for having us.
Yeah, it's so exciting. And, you know, it's really interesting how we got to meet, Helen, because a lot of times in the space, I get to meet a lot of the husbands, a lot of the gentlemen, and I get to know them. And it's like, man, I bet your wife is super awesome. And I remember having this conversation with Alex leading into the Pay It Forward event about, is your wife going to come? Is your wife going to come to the event? I don't know. Do you remember that, Alex?
Oh, I do. I do remember that clearly. Yeah, so it was interesting. We had many conversations about that, I believe. And it took some convincing.
Was it worth it?
For me?
Well, I'm going to ask Alex and say, was it worth it? Are you glad that Helen came?
Yeah, it was worth it. Yeah, it was good. I mean, because every time I go to an event, I will come home and be all sporadic and excited. And she's like, what are you talking about? Where have you been? You've been on another planet for the past 2-3 days. And she just couldn't comprehend what I was talking about. Even though we are investors together, I've got these big goals and ideas and ambitions. And she's like, you're crazy. And that's why I'm like, it took a while to convince to bring her to an event, and she finally did it.
Well, I would love to hear, Helen, about your first time going to an event, because in Conscious Investor, just to keep you, involved in this conversation, we've talked about this Conscious Investor on the podcast in the past. We've talked about, hey, always take your spouse or partner with you to events. Like, it doesn't have to be every single event, but it's a game changer. And Helen, it really was like, I watched you go from, meeting at, a brunch to like this whole other person over the course of 3 days. Not like you're a different person, but I just saw you just like
I know what you mean.
Awaken, and it was so beautiful. So can you just listen? The conscious investor has a spouse and partner that is where this is like 50% of people are where you were back then. So if you could share your experience with this.
I mean, he did mention it a long time ago, and then he was like, it's going to be a small event. I think you'll like it even better. Okay, I'll go. And then I remember we got there. I was just like feeling like I was like hiding behind him because I didn't know much. But then I met you, I met other people, and then the connection happened very quick without, I didn't know that everything was happening. And I remember at one point I was like, freaking out. Everything was new, was out of my comfort zone. And at one point I said, oh my God, I really love it. It was awesome. The closeness, that just like everyone is supporting everyone. Everybody has their, okay, oh, I have this, I have that. Oh, you could do this, you could do that. Meeting all different people was just like mind blowing. I really, really enjoyed that 3 days event. That I told them we were not even gone. I said, we're coming back next year. And we're still there.
You're like, hey, we've already booked it. We're good. We're going. And I get that. So did you get a taste as to what took place for all the other events Alex had been gone to in previous years?
I did pick up a few things at what you mean.
Which is kind of that I feel like when we go to events, we're in this time warp. Time is not normal. And it's like you're spending 2.5, 3 days together in this concentrated way, but it almost feels like 3 months or something. It's like this.
There's a lot. Yes, it was. There's a lot of information. But at one point, you want to feel overwhelmed. But then at one point, you know what? You learn very quick to take what fits you better. And then what doesn't really fit you as much, but you still listen just to pick few little stuff. So when we talk together, oh yeah, I remember. Yeah. Oh, I understand now. Oh yeah. Oh, okay. Now I know where you're going with this. Mm-hmm. Now I know what you mean. So it's a little easier. That's one of the reasons I'm like, okay, I'm going to go with you so we can actually understand the same language.
How has that helped your communication? So this is like, I think we're maybe 3.5, 4 months out-ish from that initial event. Like, has that helped your conversations about investing?
Yes, after paid forward, invested right away with
Dealmaker Live.
Yeah, I invested. I was like, you know what? I like that deal. I'm investing. He's like, huh? You what? Like, yeah, I'm jumping right in. Like, this is mine. I'm like, he's like, okay. So it was like, I understood a lot of things.
And even when I look at deals or I think about doing something with our portfolio, she's like, okay, I think
more open.
I understand more where you're going with this. So, the terminology is, we understand it better. Well, she understands it better.
And this is saying a lot because you already have a portfolio and you already have assets of your own that you're managing and everything. And so tell us a little bit more about some of the ways going to, like digging into this investment strategy together is helping expand and maybe even shift your current investment portfolio.
I mean, when we bought our first single family, we had money saved up, bought that, and we just worked in it, and we fell in love with it. And then we didn't know what we didn't know. We had one mentor that said, okay, just do this. And we kept buying and buying. And then I was listening to podcasts and stuff online, never done a real event. And then one day we went and did a refi. And driving home, I'm like, do you realize we just made this amount of money in about 2 hours? And we're like, okay. And then we bought a duplex and a fourplex with the refi we had, essentially bought those for free. I'm like, oh, this is how they do it. And then I got more involved in events, and Helen didn't want to come, and I was like, okay. But then at these events, people are like, oh, well, you have this, you can do this now. And to me, I'm like, oh boy, this is having my cake and eating it too. So I would come home, I'm like, Helen, we can do this, this, and that. And she's like, impossible. And then it's, then the hard discussion starts, you're like scratching your head, trying to make her understand what I learned at the event. And I'm like, oh my God, this is, but I knew what I had, and you don't know what you don't know. So he's always trying to, and in real estate, as you know, there are 1,000 ways to do what you want to do. So she's right, I'm right, but who's really right?
So then how do you decide? This is interesting because so many are in that same position where, they have 1 or 2 units of their own. They're enjoying the control, but they don't see the scalability. They're trying to have these discussions as a couple. Like, how do you actually end up making that decision?
Well, oh my God, this could go on. I mean, we had a lot of discussions. I'm not going to say heated, but very in tune discussions about what we should do, because our portfolio is worth, for us, a lot of money, but we have good cash flow. So it's like, well, what do you do? I mean, we're at an age that we're like, I want to think about when I'm 60, what do I want to do when I'm 60? And for her, she likes to fiddle with stuff. So she likes to go work in the unit.
I'm the one who goes with the hammer and fix things.
So, and it's hard to, if she hated it, the property management, it would be easy peasy, but she likes to go do that. And me, I'm like, okay, well, we can sell everything and invest it somewhere as a GP. So it's actually right now, today, we have 1 on the market. So to answer your question, instead of selling the whole kit and caboodle, we put 1 on the market, and we have an offer in, waiting for another one. Baby steps.
Helen, I mean, this is one thing I really appreciate about the 2 of you is that, and maybe it's just because it reminds me so much of Steve and I, where we're both strong, independent people. And so navigating these things and honoring each other's voices, and hearing each other, it gets to those points where you have sometimes, and it's more me than Steve, he's so easygoing, but it's like, sometimes like, wait, we have to do this, So Helen, like, what's your take on this process? And, it has been a little path to get to this point of even, okay, we can sell one.
It's been tough for me because I do construction as work, and I'm the one, I really fell in love, like demoing everything, fixing everything, putting everything back together, the pride, putting them all nice and finding good tenants. And I have really good tenants. So I took a lot of pride in it. So there was one that he bought in this initially. And I said, okay, so this one, it's more like yours. Even if I take care of it, let's say it's more like yours. If you want to sell one, you can sell this one, and I have nothing to say. So we did that. So we put on the market, and we had an offer. So it's nothing is done, but I'm like, So it's like now the little hamster's starting to spin.
Right.
I know there's a lot we could go to scale, but it's the fear of the unknown.
Yes.
But I think there's like potential, but I mean, it's about taking risk, checking everything, every side aspect of it, and taking risk as well.
You want to chime in on that, Alex?
Yeah, and I guess to circle back on your question, I mean, talking to people who've done it, went to Paid Forward, met everyone, it was great. So talk to people. No one is going to tell you what you should do. that no one, because everyone's situation is different. But talking to different people at the last event we went to, we sat with this gentleman who just took, out of the greatness of his heart, took us out on the outskirts and sat us down and just gave us some other tricks. So you just pull from everyone's brain what their experience is, and then you kind of cook that up in what works for you. So it's I wish there were a clear answer, but there isn't. You know, it's what you feel inside was good for you.
What's our goal, not everyone else's goals.
It's so interesting. Two things that I'm taking from that is like really knowing what are my investment goals, what are we trying to accomplish here is paramount. And going to events opens you up to so many other conversations and so many other people. And I'm pretty sure I know that person that you guys had a little side conversation with and I think I had a side conversation in a very different way that was more about how am I scaling my business, different than how am I getting more units, but how am I building up the team and how am I pouring into them while nurturing myself? Like this person really spoke a lot of truth and wisdom into people. And when you go to Conscious Investor, when you go to live events, it's going to blow you away, because in this space, there are so many people that are generous, that will pull you aside. If you're willing to make yourself a little vulnerable, other people will pull you aside. They will step into that conversation and they will help guide you and open up your mind to so many more options. And it's incredible.
That's what happened to me, I think, like seeing different people. There's all kind of people and people that you meet that you would never think about that. And you're like, wow, if they can do it, I think I can do it too. Mm-hmm. So it gives you a different perspective.
So much so. So I'm not going to throw you under the bus or anything, Helen. I'm going to associate this with myself, and I'm going to let you decide if this fits for you. But I really like control. Like, I like to be in the driver's seat. And I jokingly say often to the conscious investor, I'm a woman, I'm a wife, I'm a mom. I used to be a public school teacher. These are all my prereqs for becoming like a very like person that likes control a lot. And I get to say that. Most people are like, you can't say that. And it's like, it's about myself, so I can't. But I noticed that going down the passive investment path really required that I relinquish a large amount of control, right? And it felt scary to me of like, okay, I could go do XYZ with this amount of money, and I'm going to instead entrust it to this team. And here you go. Here's this big chunk of money, go grow it. And I guess I'll just sit here and wait. By the way, Conscious Investor has turned out amazing. And I'm so happy that I'm a passive investor. However, I'd love to know how that resonates for both of you.
Ooh. Control. We have a construction business together before. And when we first started that, we were both boss because we both own the company. We had to set some boundaries very, very early on in our construction business. I was the on-site superintendent. Whatever on-site happened, that was me. And in the office, it was her, because there was some instances where Helen had to go home early. But you have to set boundaries, like you said. In the office, she's the boss. Out in the field, I was the boss. So that kind of translated over to the real estate investing, but it reversed. Out in the field, redoing an apartment, you do you. You want to change the cabinets, you think it's going to get better rent, you do it. In the office, I'll find deals, I underwrite, I do the office stuff, but she still doesn't listen to me in the office. So we're working on that.
I love it.
No, I think, you didn't throw me under the, I like to control thing. I do. Because, I like to, when we remodel all the property that we had, I was in control. I was literally like a GC, like scheduling my plumber, my electrician, and I was so like, okay, the electrician that day. And I was like, well, you told me that day, why you're not here? just, okay, give me a good reason that, okay, because I need to redo my schedule. I need this to be ready for rent this date. And I've been working with the same people, so it got like easy at one point, and I was working well with them, and they knew me, so I would always make sure that everything was ready for them. And I needed control. I needed full control.
So then what is that like? Because I mean, you're a licensed contractor, right, Helen?
Yeah.
So you're not just a tinkerer with a hammer and stuff. Like, you're a fully licensed contractor. You know what you're doing. You know your way around every bit of this, and you love it. What is that like, saying, okay, I'm going to invest passively, where I can't go tinker on the units that I'm now invested in. I don't have a voice in what the cabinets are going to be like.
I'm fine because it's far away.
Well, I'll chime in on that. She's fine, but the person we invested passively with, we had a Zoom call with that person, and can I go on site? And
well, I wouldn't say anything, but I was curious to see what it looks like. And I know I'm just an LP, but to see the before and to see what the management company is doing, sometimes, even if I like control, but I also like, okay, what can I learn from them?
Yes.
What could oh, they did that. Oh, I never thought about that. Oh, this is smart, because there's so much out there to learn. So that's why I was like, oh, maybe I could go take a look. But I mean, it's too far.
It's too far. So was that the solace of like, okay, well, it's fine. As long as it's too far away, then I don't feel that element of control rising. I just talked to a lot of passive investors, like people, ready to make that step. And that seems to be that challenge right there at the finish line, is like, oh, I have no control over this. So that's,
I mean,
no,
I own property down in Georgia, and I'm up in New Hampshire. So, I mean, we learned the airports, that's where she hasn't really stepped into that realm yet. But when it's far away, again, you have to trust the team you're investing with also to do the right thing. And again, our discussions have been, well, if we sell some of our portfolio, with our experience being a GP, isn't that far off, than that far out. So that's where we could definitely, bring more to the table.
I think because I trust the team that I invested with, I think I have the peace of mind. Just like, I trust them because I got to know them, and, I was asking their own stories, where they came from. But it just happened that way. And then after that, I saw that deal, but it's like I already started to meet and get to know them. And I just had that good vibe.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's really, someone asked me this morning, a passive investor, in a conversation. And this investor asked me like, what do you do when you're looking at these deals as an LP and everything? And kind of told them, I straight up told this investor, I said, I know that there are a lot of right ways of going about this and all these right questions to ask and yada, yada. However, I said, I really trust my intuition and I trust my faith, and that trust, I'm now entrusting somebody. So I'm really looking at that person first, and like, who is the team behind this? And do I trust them? And for me, it's the same thing. Like, if I know I can trust these people, if I believe confidently that I can trust the people, and then I review the deal and I know it's a great deal, I'm like, it's okay. And I have a lot of peace of mind.
True. That makes sense.
Interesting. Oh my gosh. So what's next for you guys? You sell this house, you sell this one house, let's just say that sells. What's the path look like? What are your goals in your investing for the next few years?
Well, this was more for him because that was his building.
I mean, for as far as the sale of this building, we outside of real estate, I do have a franchise opportunity that I got to. So I'm going to use capital for that. And then, hopefully in the near future, we can maybe sell the one or two more, but, we'll see how that goes. And I'd like to invest in the right deals to make passively what we're making now, managing our property. But me and her can't sit and do nothing. So it would have to be, something that we're actively involved in. That for my goal.
Or let me ask this question then. If you were making that amount of money passively to where you didn't have to do it, it would free up time. So you weren't managing it and tinkering and everything. It frees up time. What other things could you contribute to the world if you had that freedom of time?
That's a you question. I mean, we like to help people out. I mean, she's always said, hey, go down, help, in a third world country, be there for a month, do that.
Or when there's like those big storm, like houses that damage, I'm like, let's pack the camper. We have a tow hauler, and let's pack it, put all the tools in it, and just maybe go help rebuild, do anything we could do for help. Like, let's go for a month or two. So we have our camper to sleep in, but we can put all the tools and equipment. That's something I'd like to do once in my life.
That's amazing.
Very.
Yeah, and just, give back and have more free time to volunteer. There's just, the list is endless. If you're that's what I would do. And again, but you always stay hungry. I always stay hungry. And that's our discussion sometimes is, well, I want more. Well, yes, this is the world of a real estate investor. Your dream, your goal is to have X. When you get there and this, you're like, well, I'm here and it's kind of boring. What else can I do? Then you just want more. More could be giving back. More could be having free time. So that's, I always strive to get more.
It always unpacks. There's always like this, the path, that book, The Alchemist by Paulo Coelho, like live the life that unfolds before you. There's always something more that's going to unfold. And it's not about getting more units and getting more money it's like, what is the more in life? What's that plus in life? What's going to grow in me that then casts this ripple effect on the world around me in a really powerful way? By the way, Helen, I got chills when you were talking about packing up to go help people in, natural disasters and stuff. Yeah. Like, that's just chills, literally. I'm like, whoa, that is what a beautiful contribution to the world, because I could go and, I can clean up debris. I could totally do serious cleanup. That's what I could do. But I could not do the building part. I could not say, okay, wait, this is how we need to take care of this, water leak or this gas. I could not do anything like that. So what a gift.
Thank you.
Yeah, thanks.
That is really cool. I think it's interesting because sometimes we look at what we're going to make, why are we passively investing? And conscious investor, this is an important dialogue for you to have with yourself, with your spouse. Like, why are we? What are we really trying to accomplish here? And if we do get the financial freedom, then what else does that open up in life? Because remember, personal freedom is really what we're after. When we get down to it, we're really after that whole personal freedom more than financial freedom. And we don't want to get those confused. So if you have that financial freedom, now you're going to ask yourself, what am I going to do with all this extra time? How am I going to make the world a better place? What contribution am I going to? How will I affect the world around me? Now you're opening yourself up to something that's true legacy work. That's amazing.
Yeah, just make a difference. If I can help people and not expect money in return, sometimes it's just gift of life.
Such a gift of life. Well, as we wrap up, are there any final things that you think that someone who wants to get into the passive investing space should know or be aware of? Your final words of advice to them.
My advice would be find your own strengths. We realized very quick that he's better in the office, talking to people, finding deals, making phone calls. Give me my tool belt, give me my hammer, give me my screwdriver. Let me take care of that. So if you find your own strength, I think it's 10 times easier, because you can focus on what you're really good. People say, oh, when you're not good at it, you should get better at it. But the way I see it, no. Do what you're good at and let other people do what they're good at. So I think you can move faster, bigger.
Conscious investor, you've been listening for a while, so you've heard me say I'm in full agreement. Do what you love, do more of what you love. Figure out what you love, know thyself, and then double down on that. And if you don't love something, that's when you just offload it to someone who loves it, because it will be so much better.
Exactly.
Oh, great advice. I'm not just saying that because I fully believe it myself. This is what happens when you have your friends on your podcast. You're like, hey, thanks. No wonder we're friends. Alex, how about you? Last bit of advice for passive investors.
So when I first started my construction business, having partners for me was taboo. We didn't want partners. We don't want people being in our business. Being in real estate.
Control. You want control.
Yes, exactly. Being in real estate, total difference. I mean, get yourself a partner or partners. Get a team. Obviously a small team to begin with that everyone aligns. And my advice would be, don't get a partner that does what you do. Get a partner that does something that they do that you don't want to do. That's what me and my partner have. You met him. I mean, he's not like me at all, but we fit together.
They're like a married couple. It's so funny to see them, but they fit. They just they're awesome to see together.
So yeah, that's my advice. I mean, we all want to go fast, but take your time.
I think that's also very grounded advice right there. It's better to be slow and methodical and have the wins. There is a balance between the two, but slow and steady, smooth and smooth is fast is smooth, slow is. There's a lot of I'm mixing together this is the hodgepodge of little expressions I'm putting together into one.
I mean, we started at the end of 2017. We bought one building every year, but to go bigger, I think we had to, let's assess more things. Let's comprehend more of, I think we can scale up, but there's a lot to understand, just so you get the deal that fit you, that you feel a good vibe with it.
Yeah, that's good insight as well. Unfortunately, we have to wrap up, and it makes me sad. Now, Alex and Helen know my daughter had a little bit of an emergency. Friend opened the door on her toenail, and so I'm like, I've got to go check on her between recordings today. So let's go ahead and let's say conscious investor is interested. They're like, wow, you know what? Alex and Helen resonate with me. I'd love to learn more from them. What's the best way for them to connect up with you?
They can go on my Facebook. I mean, Alex Pare. You can't miss me on Facebook. I'm on Instagram. I just don't know my Instagram name, but yeah, I mean, I can give my email and my phone number.
You can do whatever you like, and we'll put it down. We'll link it down in the show notes.
Yeah, my phone number is 603-305-5989. Call or text. I had someone call me last week and spent an hour on the phone with him. He had a tenant problem and messaged me on Facebook. I messaged back, and now we're going to have lunch. So it's just, I love to connect.
That is like the power. And FYI, I put my phone number out on a very large podcast, a friend of mine, and it was fun. Somebody recognized the area code, and it brought like 3 people into my life just because they're like, wait, you're somewhere near me. Like maybe we could. And so, yeah, I think it's a lot of fun.
That's good.
Helen, you kind of got, it sounded like you had something you wanted to add.
Well, I mean, I have my Facebook page, construction Facebook page, Alco, ALCO Construction on Facebook. A lot of stuff that I've done before and after the apartment, little stuff that I've been doing. I can, give tips what to do, do this, don't do that. I mean, everybody, again, have their final decision, but they can always reach me at 603-305-8493.
Nice. And if you need some marriage advice, just FYI, they're like Steve and I. You guys hit 17 years this week, right? Or is it 18?
Yeah, it was Saturday, but we had no reception all weekend at the race. So it was Saturday. So he put a little post this morning.
Well, happy anniversary, because
Thank you.
In this day and age, I think those of us who are at that 15, 17, 20, we've got friends that are at 28 years now that, it's like, oh, yeah, I guess you graduated right out of high school. Like, yeah, that makes sense. Wow. So anyhow, lots of fun, lots of great lessons to be learned. I appreciate you guys as investors. I appreciate you even more as friends. And I am grateful so much for all the rescheduling in your time, the little, acrobats that you took to get here today.
Oh, yeah. Hey, we're here. That's the important part.
Oh, love
We look forward to see you again.
Oh, I can't wait. Well, we'll talk about that. I've got plans for you, Helen.
Oh, okay. You're not coming.
That's right.
Sounds good. I just let me know.
Hey, women's retreat in Sedona. We got this happening.
Oh, boy.
All right, Conscious Investor, there you got a little bonus friend talk on air. But Conscious Investor, thanks so much for tuning in. It's really important that we do take lessons. I love it when I can have husband and wife couples that are coming on the show that are, just being some role models. Because, there's a time where Steve and I, sure, we were investing, but we really weren't in lockstep necessarily. I was so infatuated with figuring out this new investment strategy and obsessed with it and everything. And so anyhow, it's been a journey for Steve and I. It's been a journey for Alex and Helen, and it's a journey for you too, but you're not alone. And many of the things that we experience, other people have experienced as well. So if you need to reach out, feel free to reach out. My contact information is down in the show notes. Hop on the calendar and let's schedule a call. And remember, if you are looking to diversify your portfolio as a passive investor, make sure that you go and schedule a time for us to discuss your investment goals so we can help you reach and exceed those goals. And if I don't have the right type of fit within my company for your goals, you can believe that I have the network to say, let me introduce you to these one or two people. I would trust them and they're going to help your portfolio grow the way you want it to. All right. Look forward to talking with you, Conscious Investor. And until next time, live big, love bigger, and do great things. What's the big deal about investing in apartments? Why is it better than investing in a slew of single-family homes? I've compiled a lot of information on why investing in a multifamily, also known as apartments, will help you reach your investment goals. Head over to 3keysinvestments.com and download the Why Invest in Multifamily guide today.